It is Wednesday, November 5th, and I'm joined here as always by Pete, but also a special guest today. Pete, why don't you introduce our guest?
Well, we saved our first guest for a very special appearance. We're recording this in my at my kitchen table. Glenn made a road trip over, which I appreciate you doing, all 3/4 of a mile. I think I've said this several times in different forums, but since my diagnosis, I've never appreciated as much as I do now the importance of family, friends, and community. And in the family category, there's nobody higher on the list than my brother Nick, who is here today down from Maine. Nick is 4.5 years older than me, so we have way too many stories of shenanigans to even talk about, but we'll probably get into a couple of them. But everybody's got among other things, a list of people that if you had a serious problem or a situation or whatever, what's the first call? And Nick's my first call for sure. So
That's serious.
Not to lay it on too thick early, but we might as well get things started with a bang. So Nick, welcome to the pod. Glad you're here, and let's get after it.
Appreciate it. My honor, and appreciate those words for sure. So I think I'm ready. Bring it on.
You know what you're in for.
I do not know what it's
Okay. All right.
Let's give it a go.
Well, where should we start? So 4.5 years apart. Are you the oldest?
Clearly.
No, he's older. We got two older sisters.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah. An older brother.
Yeah.
So 4 siblings all told?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because Pete's got 8 years between you and Ellen.
Yeah.
And then 6.5 between you and Jane. And then there was me and Pete.
Pete's the baby.
I could never get my mother
parents
to.
took a pause, but all bets are on a whoopsie-doo.
I could never get my mother to admit it. But what difference does it make? Because here is better than not here.
True.
But
True.
the 4.5 year difference. So there's 3 in succession and then 4.5 years. So, for a long time, like 4.5 years through grade school, like you're just a little punk brother kind of thing. I mean, it takes a while to sort of equalize things a little bit. And like our family, we moved, Nick would say he grew up in New York, I think. Certainly my older sisters would say it. But when we moved from New York to Chicago, I was between 6th grade and 7th grade. So a very, logical transition, right? And Nick was between his junior year and senior year of high school. So he kind of got screwed. It just happenstance, but the timing was unfortunate for him to go. You got all your high school friends and playing hockey and all that stuff. And then you moved to a new town. And by senior year, it's hard to make whatever. It was just, but,
and
certainly,
Pete and I were in different school, same school system, Illinois, but he was in
as a junior high,
and I was in senior high, and the senior high was a separate campus between the freshman and sophomore and the juniors and seniors. So we were like 2 schools apart.
Yeah.
But it all worked out.
But like Nick, so I did a PG year at Andover, and I was pretty eager to get out of town after I graduated high school. And so I moved in with Nick in Providence, Rhode Island. And
yeah, well, the 4.
Oh no, that was the. Then you dropped me off my point is, you dropped me off at Andover, and Nick dropped me off at college. Like it was a different era. Your parents didn't. They never even showed up, which is no rip on my parents.
And our 4.5 years got compressed, because I flub-dubbed around, and that's all. This isn't the for Nick's sake story, so I won't get into that. But I flub-dubbed around between 18 and 21 or 2, and ended up living in Providence and going to school when Pete was at Wesleyan. So we were in college together, even though we were 4.5 years apart.
Yeah.
So there was some overlap there. Interestingly enough.
Yeah.
So it gave me a chance to see Pete's games and for us to have a relation. We were only a few hours apart. I traveled quite a bit up to Wesleyan during those
Yeah.
days.
And like we had like a reasonable brotherly relationship for, the whole time. But really in the last, I don't know, 10, 12 years, something like that, we gotten much, much closer. And certainly since this diagnosis has changed the game considerably. But we talk almost every day. There are times we don't talk because I'm just, now where I don't have the energy, and Nick knows he can leave me alone if he doesn't hurt me in a day or something. But
I get sent to voicemail pretty frequently, which is fine as long as Pete knows I'm trying. That's all I really, that's my first step. But prior to the diagnosis, I think we talked 2 or 3 times a week.
Yeah.
Whether it be about the stock market or something, kids, stock market, or something. So,
well, and one of the things that did that is Nick is the CEO of a big multi-generational family business that had a liquidity event. And so then we started, like, he became a pretty serious client after that, and that facilitated a lot more. But a little tricky to manage, right? You got a business relationship with your brother and a brotherly relationship.
Yeah.
So we mostly worked it out.
100%.
Yeah.
Got me interested more in Pete's line of work too, because I was now in the game.
Right.
So I would be calling Pete with my tips, and he'd be like, "Oh Jesus," sending me to voicemail. When the market was open, I was calling Pete. He was sending me to voicemail because he didn't want me making impulsive buys, because I had a lot of ideas. So,
Well, the other thing that was interesting was, like, I would characterize you as you had wealth but no money, and then the liquidity. Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
that's a bit of an exaggeration, but and then a liquidity event happens, and the game changes a little bit just from a personal financial situation, that he got to see what I do for a living.
Yeah. Why you do it, why it's necessary.
Yeah, well, and as a client, which was not a fait accompli when it happened. Like,
You had to earn the business.
yeah, for sure.
we started somewhere else.
Started somewhere else.
In a different model, completely a different, not with another wealth management firm, but
with a trust company.
Trust company, which didn't work out, fortunately for us and everybody, because it wouldn't have been as fun. We've had a lot of fun.
We had a lot of fun and success, and it's worked out pretty well. But the combination of those, and now this and all this, we're like blood brothers.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess we are literally blood.
Yeah.
Brothers.
I was trying to think of a funny story about us. And when I got out of school and came up and started in the family business, Pete was still at West, so he must have been a sophomore or junior, but we did have overlap even though we were 4.5 years apart. And our company, my first year, our grandfather started the company that I work at, and my uncles ran it for a number of years, and then third generation came in. But my first year there, we bought one of our competitors. We're in the beer and wine and liquor business, and we bought one of the beer distributors that we overlap with. And in the buy, we ended up inheriting or acquiring 5 sales vehicles that were kind of high mileage Chevy Cavaliers. Were they 2 doors or 4 doors?
There were 4 doors.
Little 4 doors. They were all white, pretty beat up when we got them. We didn't need them, and at the time, Pete needed a car at Wesleyan pretty badly. He had no transportation, as I recall. So somehow we had a conversation, and I talked to my uncle about these vehicles that we didn't need, and said, "Geez, love to put Pete in one of them. He has no transportation." So we did, Pete, and we left it registered to the company, like insured by the company, which is ridiculous. He would never do that now for strict liability. Hand some, Wesleyan guy, which who knows what he's doing down there, a company vehicle. So 2 or 3 years later, was it 2 or 3 years? 2 or 3 years later, Pete graduates. Let's say it's 2 years later.
Can I interject for 1 second?
Of course you can.
There wasn't an oil change. I didn't
I'm
check-
getting to that.
Okay.
Getting to that.
Didn't never check the tire pressure. Like there was a lot of maintenance going on in this vehicle because I didn't have two nickels to rub together,
So,
but I did have a car.
so I never saw the car again for those 2 years. I mean, if I visited Pete, I might have been out in the parking lot, but I had my own car, which was I can't really remember, but I never really saw the car.
Yeah.
So Pete's got this car for a couple of years and he graduates and gets a job like as a sales manager of whatever you
Technology company,
technology company. So he can apparently afford his own car. It's time to turn the car, is my point. And Pete says, I'll be up on, it was during the week because our company was open. And Pete says, I'll be there at whatever time. And in fact, this is pre-cell phone and all that. And Pete rolls in and I look out the window because I knew what time he was going to arrive. The car was a complete, no hubcaps, is steam coming out of the hood. I was waiting for Pete to open.
Black shit, smoke. Coming out the exhaust pipe, toxic waste.
We needed a tow truck to tow the car to however we got disposed of our cars. But at the time, it was very.
I sort of coasted into the parking lot, threw it in the park.
Thank you.
Here you go.
I don't know where we're going with that story, but I thought I'd share it. It was funny to us at the time. It was 40 years ago, but funny to us.
That's great. Yeah, no sentimental attachment to the car, just point A to point
Well,
B.
it was a 4-door, and I remember stuffing, Archibald Alexander was the center on our hoops team. He was like 6'9". I would put 5 or 6 basketball players in that thing. So the suspension was a little beat up too.
Yeah.
Because folding up a bunch of 6'5" and bigger guys into that car was always like a little game of Jenga or something.
You did come to work for the company at one point for Pine State.
Yeah.
I had a condo with my cousin Keith at the time, and Pete moved in and slept we had like a couch, just comfortable enough for you. And you want to talk about you and Eddie and that experience at all from a third generation member of the company for your short stint? I think it was between your junior and senior year.
Yeah. Well, I worked on the wine line. So basically salespeople would go out every day and sell to grocery stores and restaurants or whatever, and they would electronically transfer in the orders. On the wine line, just imagine a belt, like a roller belt going down, and there were different sections. And I worked in like the section that sold like MD 2020 and the Gallo Hardy Burgundy by the half gallon. Carlo Rossi. And in the varietal section, which was the fancy wine, was this guy, Eddie Layton, who was somewhat of a philosopher, uneducated guy, but the king of the line kind of thing.
Older than y'all.
Definitely older. God rest his soul. He passed away maybe 10 years ago.
He was probably 50, but he looked 70.
Yeah.
Okay.
And my first day on the job, Eddie sort of showed me the ropes, and I quickly discovered that he does not have a tooth in his mouth. Zero. Gums all the way around.
Okay.
Like, all right, well, it's his blue collar work. I guess you see these things, there's no problem. And at lunchtime, he's like, let's go get a hot dog and now I'm fascinated because I'm thinking, how's this going to work? And he figured out how to eat. But Eddie would get a little ornery sometimes because the orders were coming in. He thought the salesmen were all, lazy slobs. And so if the orders came in too late in the day, he wouldn't go into a work stoppage. He'd go into a work slowdown because he's the last guy on the line. So if he goes into half speed mode, like, I'm like loading stuff into cardboard boxes and you send them down the line. But Eddie would slow the whole thing down because he's pissed at the salespeople. And so the boxes would line up and I'd just be sitting there waiting. And Eddie just had his way of doing things, and that's what was going to happen. He ruled the roost. He was obviously a low man on the corporate totem pole, but he carried a lot of weight by things he could influence.
He had a lot of juice, as they say.
And you
learned a lot from Eddie in some fashion, because you come after Pete got out of work, because Pete would get out later than I would. we meet, and we had a buddy named Bruce Libby who had a boat, and we'd go water skiing every day. Do you remember those
every
days?
day.
Every afternoon, even the evening was summertime. We would go water skiing every single day, 5 days a week.
This is up in Maine.
It was up in Maine on a lake. Where Bruce is an absolute character, and he was learning how to water ski, and Pete and I knew how to water ski, and we pretty much we abused Bruce
Yeah.
a little bit.
Yeah. We've toned things down in the meantime, but when we got our little, Abbott and Costello thing going,
He didn't stand a chance. It was pretty good.
what do you want to know?
Well, so what happened at it? Like, so you guys lived together, which is great, especially and to your point, like the 4.5 years is kind of compressed in a lot of ways. So what happened after that? As is it you started your sales manager job?
Yeah, I
in
moved to
technology?
Boston, and we were doing our own thing, and we
Yeah.
stayed in touch, but we just weren't. It was kind of a different era. It's not like there were cell phones and texting, and you just didn't.
Yeah,
We communicated periodically, and at that age, you're in your 20s, and whatever, you're just focused on you. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Pete and Lynn got married well before, even though younger than me, got married at what
yeah.
age?
I was 26.
And I got married at 34. So at that time, so there was,
Yeah, several years after.
so that changed our lives a little bit. Pete was married and starting to raise a
And
family.
yeah, and we had kids before. Nick has a daughter and a son, and obviously I got 2 sons and a daughter. But I was the first to have a child and all that stuff, which neither here nor there.
But pre-cell phone, think about it. It was just different. You weren't text, you just communication
Yeah.
required you to go to a phone, call another phone, and have somebody at that phone answer the phone. It was-
Well, the band plays a song called Phone Booth, which I occasionally do a little intro to the song about. You have to put a quarter into the phone, and there's a dial tone, and somebody answers at the other end. And
Yeah,
Glenn, that my little story
Jim Croce thing going
started to get on your nerves, Glenn. But
didn't get on my nerves. Just it's
Can't say-
sometimes we need the intro. Sometimes
most of the time we don't.
yeah, sometimes we don't. But it's definitely took a lot more effort to stay in touch in those days.
Yeah.
People would write letters, right?
Write
People would
letters,
write letters.
postcards.
I went to tell Pete a story today, and he cut me off early, which isn't that unusual. And he said, "Do you have any idea how many times you've told me this story?" I'm like, "No, I think I'm telling you for the first time." When you talk every day, I can't
Yeah.
remember what I've told.
Oh, yeah.
It was like the 6th time I've told him this.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about when you heard about Pete's diagnosis and
Yeah, I can do that, I suppose. So it was about 2 years ago, right about now, that Pete and I were
Yeah,
in
October.
Florida.
Yeah.
My wife and I've got a small house in Vero Beach, and it was frankly, the house was designed for Pete and me more than Jesse and me, because it was really for golf trips kind of
Yeah.
thing. And Pete and I have been taking golf trips for a while to various places. And I was watching Pete down there, and he was frequently messing with his left hand. He was sort of rubbing his palm or through his golf glove, or even at the back of the house.
Mhm.
And I finally asked him, I said, "What's going on with your left hand?" He said, "I don't know, just I've got some weakness and it's bothering me a little bit." And Pete probably had covered this, but he had cervical fusion done, I don't know, 10 or 15 years ago now.
2019.
Okay,
Yeah, not that long
2019,
ago.
not that long ago. Okay.
Yeah.
So that might be a symptom of that. Who knows? So that was in October, November, 2 years ago. And then Pete went back and had some appointments, and I think called me in late November or December. He had gone from might have be an ALS diagnosis to probable. I think there's a step you go to, and then you get diagnosed.
Mhm.
And when he got to probable, I remember picking up my phone and saying, "Hey," and because I knew it was him calling me, I could see it on my phone, and he said, "I'm in deep shit." Do you remember that
Yeah.
call? And, that's a silent moment, and well, let's wait and see. And I think the diagnosis was early January or late December.
Well, December 18th was preliminary, and then January 30th was, official.
So then the decision was made. So that's obviously a gut punch, shocking. I mean, I can't even remember my emotions at the time, but I mean, I certainly remember those emotions. And then collectively, we made the decision not to say anything. I think to our siblings, or Pete made Pete
Mhm.
Lane or whatever. I think I was part of the decision process.
Yeah, there were two people who knew, you and Adam Rody.
So that was a weight to carry, because meanwhile I'm talking to my sisters or my
Mhm.
mother,
Mhm.
my mother in particular, and it's almost like you're lying by not you
Yeah.
know something that's really, really bad
Mhm.
and life changing for obviously for Pete, but for everybody around Pete. And
Yeah.
eventually you made the announcement to people, and
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying I got relief from that, because I'm not going to get relief from any of this, but it was
You're walking around with a big old bag over your back, like this is,
Yeah.
this is yeah, not to look for anybody, I mean, anybody's sympathy for me, but it was a lot at the time, for a lot of emotion, and then not being able to have community around it made it even tougher. So
and nobody to talk to about processing it yourself. At least I could talk to Lynn about, I mean, I had somebody to release the,
I did immediately. I know a therapist, and I immediately went into therapy on a weekly basis to have somebody,
Hmm.
not family, to at least, talk through different
Unload
things,
on that.
unload, whatever. Sometimes just sit there in silence, but at least I had
Yeah.
an avenue to express things. And
Very wise.
out.
Yeah.
And his message has been pretty clear, and that is, don't miss the journey. That would be a big regret, to don't miss the journey.
Yeah.
and don't deny people the opportunity to do things, maybe differently. In other words, if I waited 6 months or 9 months to tell people, well, that's 6 or 9 months of people close to me who might have done different things had they known.
Right.
I mean, even like, Jack, who lives in New York, started coming up regularly because of that,
Right.
which he wouldn't have done, nor should he have done,
Yeah.
in other circumstances.
Yeah.
And that's true for a lot of people.
I think one of the big learnings for me from this is, it's not to get too philosophical, because I'm not that guy, but when you find out news like this, you immediately, like, I don't want to say you get kinder, but you become a little different on how you treat the person who's dealing with this.
Right.
And when
Yeah.
you think about it, and again, I'm not trying to be deep about this, but when you think about it, we're all here for whatever period of time we're here for. It's just we don't, you could be gone, Glenn, next week for all I know.
Yeah.
But if I knew it, I might treat you with a little more care.
Yeah.
So we know something about Pete now. So I find myself, well, I'm not going to be
The
like,
ball busting factor has gone down. But in both ways.
I've tried to be the ball. One thing I've tried to do with you, Pete, is be. I think my role, I think I may be wrong, has been stay normal, still try and have some fun.
Yeah.
Don't change
Yeah.
much here, because I wouldn't want to be treated with two kid gloves, and I'd be mad about that.
Right.
But you do, but like being a dick comes off the table.
Yeah. Which is kind of a shame, because that was really the most fun part.
However, to get back to me being a deep person, if we treated everybody like, we had a time frame, because we all do, maybe the world would be a better place.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to learn that in my, whether it be at home or whatever relationships I have, to think, because we all are here for some relatively short amount of time in the grand scheme of things. So yeah,
But it's a gift. You don't know what
Every day is a
people are going through. Yeah, exactly.
And we're all in complete denial of our mortality when you're, 40, 50, 60, right? I mean, like our mother, who passed away at the end of July, was 95 years old. Like, she was in touch with her mortality, right, for the last,
Right.
10 years probably. Like you get to a certain age and you know it's coming, but at our ages, it's like you just don't even, it's not even, you don't even,
Yeah.
it doesn't even enter your
Yeah.
consciousness.
Too busy living life and doing things.
Yeah, and whatever, and that can all change in overnight. And I think this happening to me has got lots of people in my circle maybe thinking that a little bit.
Absolutely.
Uh,
No, I've talked about how it's changed my like worldview, my perception, my appreciation of time and other people and community and family. And I mean, you get some of that, like I'm a dad. I have two kids, and seeing them grow up, you're like, wow, this is like this really small window of time that we have together to make these memories. And it just puts more emphasis on the need to spend that time in a quality way, in a way that you want to look back on, and memories that you want to hold on to. So yeah,
I was the pitter patter in the back and the occasional squeak is Moose, who does not want to allow us to have a conversation without engaging with him. I was telling Nick earlier, Glenn, about your response to me telling you, right? I mean, we were friends, but we're band friends, right?
yeah, we're like
We
acquaintances, like
and play gigs together and have a special bond that way, but weren't hanging out necessarily.
yeah,
And I mean, I've been moved and touched by the way you've responded, but it's also you've responded because it's like awareness of
yeah. Well, and the situation has created that
yeah,
response, right?
yeah,
Like it's
created opportunities.
yeah, it's strange to think about, but that's how it works.
I mean, the other thing that's helpful for me to know, and this is already starting to happen, but like, when I'm gone, I know that Nick is there for, my kids.
Yeah.
And he's already there for my kids, and he's been pretty involved in my son Mike's life in a variety of ways, but he's been involved with all of them. But he's going to have, a father figure.
Yeah.
Who cares and will be there and whatever happens.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
you start thinking about, or at least I start thinking about those things.
Yeah.
What happens when when I'm not here.
Yeah.
Fortunately, they're great kids, and they're not kids; they're adults, and they're they're low maintenance. So it's not like
They had a good mother. Very good leadership from their mother.
whatever.
yeah.
I think it takes a village, but yeah,
Yeah.
we'll take it as it comes.
So the golf trips have been a recurring thing that y'all have shared together. Has that been a regular thing
Lots
for a
of
long
golf
time?
trips.
Yeah. Any favorite memories or any particular notable adventures that y'all got into there?
I'd say, well, there was one story, but it's probably not a good one.
Who's the better golfer?
Well, I can't even swing a golf club.
I am now.
At Pete, yeah.
I'm ready to take them now, but
He's got to give me a few strokes.
I'm starting to gain a little confidence.
I'd say, what would I say? I think that probably across many rounds of golf, I was probably a steadier golfer.
hmm
But Nick could light it up.
Yeah.
Nick's issue with his golf game is all between his ears. He gets all pissed off when he hits a bad shot.
Which is
It's not uncommon. You're not,
throw my clubs around.
No. No, not inappropriately.
But
Just
definitely-
is worried about the last shot that he messed up as opposed to moving on to the next one.
Definitely, if you could get in my head, I was in trouble. Or if I could get in my own head, I was in
Yeah,
trouble.
I didn't want to try to get in your head because I'd turn into a psychopath.
If anything got into my head, I was in trouble. But I did have the good fortune to have Pete come down. I'm in a peer group with a bunch of other distributors from around the country, and we meet every year in Naples. And the day prior to the meeting, we play golf, and Pete would come down. Pete and I would go down 3 days prior to Naples, play golf, for 3 days, and then Pete would play with my peer group, and that was kind of cool.
That
to
was
have,
fun,
Have
yeah.
get to know my world a little bit and who
Claude,
Claude, right?
the guy from South Carolina who was a good old boy.
Byron Young.
Byron. I love Byron.
He's great. The beer business is fantastic, and it's just so they're all family businesses, and it's a very social group.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Pete got to know some of the people that I knew in the industry and so forth. So that was kind of cool.
Just an example of the, which I won't get too specific on, but an example of the era where there was perhaps a little more edge to our ball busting. We were at, what's the place? We were at Doral. This was before the redheaded, the orange-haired lump was owned it. And the problem is if you wind us up, it's like it gathers momentum and turns into a very large snowball rolling down a hill. That's not going to end well sometime.
Not for us, maybe, but maybe for
Well,
somebody
yeah,
else.
for the target of our
Our humor.
well, I'll be saying something that's funny, and then he'll immediately follow up, and it kind of ratchets up. You know what I mean? Anyway, we pissed our brother-in-law off so badly at dinner that there's some dispute about this, whether he dropped his utensils from a foot above the plate or threw his utensils onto the plate. But in any event, it was a little bit of a scene, and he got up and left. And it was appropriate because we were giving him a ration of shit. And it wasn't just like for 20 seconds. I mean, it was just like a pile on. And he snapped. And not his fault. But after he got up and left, I looked at Nick. I said, "You think we pushed that a little too far?"
I was like, "What's his problem?"
The fact that he continues to talk with us was because it was over the top. So if he's listening and he knows who he is, I apologize. I should have come to you at Yom Kippur when we were atoning for our misdeeds. And this one goes back a few years, but my heartfelt apologies. I hope you can see in your heart to accept my apology. And I'm speaking on Nick's behalf.
I was going to say, I apologize for Pete. If he hadn't pushed my buttons, nothing would have happened. Oh boy.
Anyway, that's probably a wrap. I think, Nick, I appreciate you coming on the pod, first of all. Nick's made an effort to come down every couple of weeks, and where he lives and where I live, the fun factor is significantly different. And so 99% of the time up until recently, we go to them because there's lots of fun stuff to do,
Maine,
ocean and, you know, toys to play with. But, you know, my ability to do that is diminishing rapidly. So he comes down, you know, every couple of weeks and spends the night. We have dinner, we yuck it up. Last night we watched the Bruins game.
Great game.
Got up this morning, yucked it up some more, and then he'll head up and, you know, we'll carry on. But
I time everything around the traffic.
Yeah.
It works out great.
It's guys from Maine, if you have to be in traffic for 20 minutes, their freaking heads explode. Or somebody rides on your bumper, they're like, yeah.
Anyway, I appreciate being on today, and I hope I get another shot once you work through the other guests you may bring on.
Yeah. Well,
I'll give it a little thought.
It's clear y'all have a great relationship. And, I'm glad and grateful for you to share a little bit of that with me and with our audience. So yeah, that's a wrap.
All right, till next time.
Peace.
If you have comments or questions for Pete and me, you can email us at 2224peter@gmail.com. If you'd like to get involved with or donate to ALS causes, check out ALS One at alsone.org. Thank you for listening.